If I put this candle in an all-white gallery space, it looks like a piece of art. If I put it on in a garage, it looks like a piece of trash.
Let's get into this episode, which we are going to be talking about Virgil Abloh. The funny thing, let's start with something funny. So I showed my mom, shout out to my mom. I showed my mom Off-White. Right. She was I heard a lot about this Virgil guy. Of course, I learned it from your podcast and everything like that. But I don't know how much his stuff is. Right. I don't know what are we looking at with that. So I showed her the website, and she was like, $700 for a hoodie? What is happening? Yeah. And I'm like, Mom, that's the importance of branding.
That's right.
That is the true importance of branding, of where you can truly sell a piece of clothing for a crazy amount, and people are going to buy it because of a certain logo.
That's right.
Right.
A premium.
And that is why we wanted to cover Virgil, because there's so many little nuggets that he's left. And I hope everybody really looks into these interviews, because I didn't know how many interviews he has. I hate that when people pass, now you're really realizing all the stuff that's out there.
Right.
It's so it's so great, but it's so unfortunate.
Yeah, that's real. And we got to do a better job of that. I mean, again, and the funny thing is, this podcast was created for that reason. We literally put this thing together and saying, hey, you know what? It would be cool to honor people while they're still alive. So, I think we're getting better, but we definitely could do more, in appreciating what people have to say while they're here.
Yeah. So with that, let's get into which one you want to do first? I got a few. We didn't really talk about the order. Yeah. Shout out to us.
That's right. That's right.
Shout out to us. But could I talk about the candle one first? Okay,
yeah.
Let's show the people the candle one.
The way to sort of communicate an idea, there's this philosopher called Kierkegaard that talks about the most effective way for me to transmit an idea from my brain to your brain is not to tell you what to do, just to rearrange the furniture in your head so that you arrive at the same conclusion. So to a parent that's like, hey, I want you to be an engineer, and you're like, oh, I want to be a fine painter. My logic is always absorb the information and then re-deliver it in a way that makes them sort of understand, but also that you're still going to go your own path. I'm designing this candle, right? Or the student or the classroom is this. If I put this candle in an all-white gallery space, it looks like a piece of art. If I put it on in a garage, it looks like a piece of trash. Someone would throw it away. It's dented. And I think I often use this analogy in design. I could either design the candle and spend a lot of time telling you about the candle, or I could just design the room that it sits in.
Wow.
Go ahead, Moose. Yeah, go ahead.
The two things that stuck out to me with that especially is, number one, when he's talking about communication, it's, I stress the importance of stop being selfish when you're communicating. Yeah. Because whether you're talking to a loved one, an audience member, a customer, or a business partner, if you're talking to them the way you want to be talked to, the chances of connecting are going to be a lot more difficult. But what he's telling you here is take a moment to almost pull yourself back and reshuffle it in a way that it can fit better in their minds and they can arrive at the same conclusion. What you're doing is, number one, you're making sure that you don't rob them of their own creativity, or you don't numb their intuition. And I've always said it, I think that's one of the worst things that we can run ourselves into, is to rob somebody of their intuition, because then they just go numb. They don't know what's good or what's bad or what's cool and what's not. They literally just don't know how to move because they don't have a good feel for things. And then, of course, the second piece of it, that's dope. I mean, you could take that so many different ways, right? The environment, right? It's the same exact thing can be looked at as art or trash just based off of where you place it. That's heavy. That's heavy.
Yeah, I got most excited about this one just because it's like it's the simple thought. It's like when we look at like different products or services, we're so focused on selling that, right, and not necessarily making it fit in our world, right? If we're really looking at the different audiences that we're attracting, and we're trying to introduce something new to them, and the value and make it seem as if this is going to be valuable to them, how does it fit in the world that they're already in?
Right.
Like, how does this particular new thing makes it seem as if it's something that they need in their world, and not necessarily making it fit into their world? They clearly see it.
Yeah.
And how he just took that candle, and for my audio listeners, just check out the YouTube channel to see how dented this candle was. It was just, it looked like trash. But he was right, where it's like, you know, when you have it in an art gallery or an exhibit, now you're perceiving it as something else.
Yeah.
And with our brand, with our products, with our services, are we putting it in the right environment before we even say, hey, this is what this is? And it makes me think about it a little bit differently, because I'm like, when it comes to extreme execution, when it comes to deeper than the brand, or anything possibly with like ET, like, instead of saying, here, me, here, look, like, why don't we show the people where they are and make it fit to where they look to the left and they're like, yo, that's new. What is this? What's happened? That looks fire. That looks like something I need. That looks like... So just hearing that, I'm like, this man just make a bum candle seem important.
Seriously. Yeah, no, it's genius. I love that. And again, I think that's the benefit of someone who trusts his own intuition and like just his heart of what's cool and what's not. You know, because like if you think about like a lot of the ideas that we end up don't acting out, or we end up not acting on, it's because we probably are doubting, are they going to be perceived as cool in the minds of other people, right? And you're like, maybe that's not pop. Okay, you know what? Yeah, no, I'm not going to do it. And then there he is. It's just like, no, I've actually designed my life in a way that I do what I think is cool, and people have began to respect and appreciate that.
Right.
From the simplicity of just simple font and the word air on a sneaker that has been released for 20, 30 years.
Yo, can we talk about that? Can we talk about that? Because, and shout out to Nick. Like I told you, I love Virgil slides.
Yeah.
From a person who like teaches and presents at times, like, we look at slides as if, and for those who don't know, like keynote slides, right? Not like shoe slides. I don't want to confuse it. I don't want to confuse it, right? I don't want to do the flip flops, chanclas. I don't want you to confuse it, right? But the way that we see slides right now is like it has to have everything in it, the pictures and the like it has to represent something deep and like. And the way that Virgil does it, and you're going to see it in the next slide. Now I'm saying next slide. Clip. Next clip, right? Yeah. Where it's just like, yo, my man puts simple font, simple words, and we just like, we think it's so deep.
We think it's so deep.
We think it's like, why are we overcomplicating things? Why are we feeling as if we have to do more than the most when really it's having a consistent look. It's having a consistent feel. It's,
I think it's just trying to make up for like a void or something that's missing. You feel me? It's like, I don't think it's good enough, so I got to fill it to distract people from what I'm hoping they don't see. You feel me? As opposed to just simply embracing your art, even if it's not art. Like I was reading one of the articles and they said that he didn't call himself a designer. because he said that was just a way of him expressing some of his ideas.
Right.
So he wasn't a designer or a creative director. In his mind, it wasn't that. He was like, I just found my outlet and I was expressing the things that I thought liked or disliked, whatever the case may be. So it's like, I think that's a big lesson for us to take away. Like, yeah, embrace the journey, sure, but also stop trying to cover up for missing pieces or avoid filling the void. That's like, just let it be.
That's so good. That's so good.